So it is day 3 now here of seeding in the greenhouse. Today I'm working on plants like lupines, platycodon, petunias, oregano. And Mom just got down here with another shipment that just came in, which looks like Coleus, New Guinea impatiens, petunias, and I think Calibacoa. That was one box, and I think there's 2 more down there that she's got to bring in yet. These all look really nice and healthy, which is good. The only problem we're seeing so far is this Calibacoa right here. The day after they got here, and obviously we didn't let them get dry or anything like that, they're starting to wilt down, so we don't know what's going on with that. So we're contacting the company to see what they're going to do about it or why that could be happening. This is a big box. Probably one of the biggest I've seen. From Lucas Greenhouses. You don't know how to open a box or what?
Part of my scissors fell apart. Okay. Now this.
Well, there ain't near as much in there as it looked like there was. Well, they look like they're all...
They're taller plants.
These look like they're all thrown around.
Project. Oh.
I told you. This is the problem with getting plants shipped in. There is 1 out of like 50 that's supposed to be in there.
Alright, let's get this.
UPS, FedEx, whoever brings it, they don't care. They just throw them around. It literally says live plants. And then there's an arrow pointing, keep this side up. Actually, this one might not say live plants, but I know the Griffin ones, or wherever they come from, do.
Well, hopefully, I guess these are all the same thing. Problem is, they don't actually have cells. Like, these are sitting in cells. These are just...
Hopefully, the other ones down in there are better. So, I am just about prepared to start seeding. I got all of my trays filled. Tags are made, ready to go. And I got everything laid out here, here, and here. Mom is now starting to empty some of the first bags of soil into the tub. Dad brought them over this morning because, as I was saying in my previous video, that they're still frozen. And we can't plant these nice green lush plants in frozen soil. It's just gonna kill them. It's too much of a shock. And so she's opening them up, getting that dirt stirred around, broken up. That way, hopefully in about an hour, she can start planting some of this stuff. Some going in pots, some going in hanging baskets. She knows that a lot better than I do. My job right now is mainly the seeding. Is it pretty frozen yet?
A little bit.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid.
It crumbles up easily, though.
All right, so I'm done seeding now for the day. Just about 2 sections filled up, 2 more to go. It's nice now. This is the first time these seedlings have seen sun since, I don't know, like since the beginning, actually, since they've been planted. So it's the next day. I just got in here to the greenhouse and everything looks good. Last night, right before it got dark, I came in and covered the seedlings. We like to put this little layer of fabric over top of them, keeps that moisture and that heat in there a little bit better. And so now that it's morning though, I want to get this off, and maybe, just maybe, we might have some green coming up. And I was right. First sprouts of the season, geraniums. Specifically, Ringo 2000 Deep Red, 2000 Deep Scarlet, White, and I am seeing a couple of the Bullseye mix there. Now with the sun coming out, I bet by the end of today, most of them will be up. I don't see any others yet, but I know they're not far behind, that's for sure. Right here, what is this? Can't see, this might be more geraniums. Yep, more geraniums. I'm just seeing a couple ever so slightly coming up. Mom got all of those geraniums put back in their trays yesterday. As far as I can see, everything looks just fine. Nothing's harmed in any way, which is usually the case. When they're young like this, they can take a lot more as far as like being thrown around. Nothing's really broken. I don't see anything like wilting or dying down. We have had them pretty bad before where we have lost a couple, but I mean, usually it's not real bad. It just looks bad as soon as you open the box. So once greenhouses are started like they are now, that's basically the first thing we'll do every single morning. You don't want those seedlings getting too hot with that plastic on them. This time of year, it's not the most important thing because it's gonna get to like a high of 30, but in the summertime, or when it gets closer to summertime in spring, what happens is, you know, by 8:30, it's getting like 90 degrees in there and you gotta get stuff opened up. We've been having a lot of freezing and thawing lately, so this whole lane right here is a solid sheet of ice, and then it'll thaw and it'll melt and then it'll freeze again. But it is getting better. This was all sheet of ice too, but like I said, it's starting to melt finally. Next job is barn work, which you probably see me do a lot. Cats are first. After the cats, it's the cows. Barn work's done. Back up here in the greenhouse now again. It is freezing outside. My hands are numb. And I want to check all the plants to make sure they don't need any water before I head downtown for buns for the farm market. Now watering can seem pretty simple, and it is. If it's dry, you water it. But a lot of people, if you're on the lazy side, just want to say, okay, I'm just going to water the entire thing. Well, usually, especially when plants are young like this, that's not the case. If you keep watering the whole thing over and over again, and you're never giving it a chance to dry out, you're actually going to kill it because it's just going to be overwatered. So I like to go around the edges. This one seems to be pretty good. So does this one. I'll either check them, like the actual dirt, to see if it's light colored. If it's not, I'll lift it up, make sure the whole tray isn't light. And they seem to be pretty darn good. So I'm going to keep moving here. They seem good. Obviously, after doing this now for several years, I have an idea of what likes more water than others. So that's something I check more often. Also, like Calibacoa doesn't use as much water, at least not at this stage, and certain kinds of Calibacoa drink more than others, as like the Lobelia or the Verbena. So, especially if I know it's going to be like a warmer, sunnier day where stuff's going to dry out, I'll water these, even if they're a little bit on the wet side, because I know they're going to dry out eventually. But if I know it doesn't drink a lot of water, it's going to be cloudy, kind of a cooler, damper day, well then I'll hold back on watering stuff because then it's just not going to dry out. So it's the next day, or maybe 2 days later since I last recorded, and not a lot has been going on in here. I finished up my batch of seeding that I wanted to get done now for this time frame, and so now basically what needs to happen is we need to start planting all of our plugs here behind us. So far, so good. Like I was saying before, all of the plugs are, for the most part, nice and healthy, doing really good. But the longer you leave them in there, the worse they're gonna get. Just because they're already so big, sometimes they get root bound, meaning there's like just a ton of roots and no soil left for it to grow anymore. And so it's just not good. Also, they dry out easier when they're this size. So it's just good to get them planted. Now, certain things are gonna go in 6.5-inch pots like those there. And certain things are gonna go in 4.5-inch pots, which are smaller. I don't have any here now to show you though. And so I'm gonna go grab some 6.5-inch pots, go down to my soil bin down there, start filling some pots, and then I'll probably start planting some of these graceful grasses. There's fireworks, there is purple fountain grass, and we have the Prince Tut. Some of you guys are asking what kind of soil we use. This is it right here. Biofungicide with mycorrhizae, made by ProMix BX Plus. I'm not even 100% sure what all this stuff is exactly, but I know Dad has looked into it. Here's the ingredients: sphagnum, peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, dolomitic and calcitic limestone, wetting agent, biofungicide, and mycorrhizae. Again, that's just what we found to work best for us. And so Mom already has some soil here, but there's not a lot. I'm also not going to be doing a lot today. Looks like there's already some moisture in it. I just got to get it mixed around. Definitely not none too wet, but I think it'll be fine for me today. So this ain't no rocket science. We got our tray. And this box here is the 6.5-inch pots. So what I like to do is set a stack there, scoop down in. You don't really want to like compress the soil in there. You want to keep it nice and fluffy. So I just take my hand around it a couple times, making a slight indentation in the soil. Like if you look at that, it's not flat right across, but it's very close. That just leaves a little bit of room then. Once you put your plant in there, obviously it's gonna, you know, poof up and you're gonna fill in that spot. So you want the soil to have somewhere to go. You don't want it to be overflowing, if you follow that. And so there is like pot fillers out there. We don't have one. We just didn't feel like we're big enough and do enough to justify buying one and spending that kind of money. So we do it this way. If you stack them right, stagger them, you can get 5 in a tray, just like that. And then I'll grab another one. And just keep going. The reason that you want moisture in your soil before you start is because if it's bone dry, when you go to water it, the water will just drain right down through, and the soil isn't really going to soak up any of that. And so the wetter it is, the better it is. Until you get to a certain point where it's just sloppy and it's wet, like that's just too much. You should basically, which like I said, this is just a little bit too dry, but you should be able to squeeze your soil and like be able to form a ball. At least that's the way I feel. And you can't really form a ball with this. It kind of just wants to fall apart. If you squeeze it and it just starts gushing water, well then you probably have too much water in there. So you kind of got to do it in moderation. And the nice thing is that, at least for us anyway, if you have extra soil bags laying around like we always do, because we never know exactly how much we're going to need. If you get too much water in there, just put another bag in and that'll dry some of it up. As you've probably gotten the point by now, nothing about really any of this process is hard. It's just all, you know, planning ahead and just getting things figured out. So now that we've got the soil in the pots, I brought them over here. This is only a very tiny fraction of what I should be doing. And so I guess we'll start out with these, we'll do Prince Tuts. Only because these look a little bit not so nice and I want to get them taking off. So all I'll do, or what I like to do is just take like 2 fingers and make a hole in there. That's another reason why it's nice to have moisture in your soil, because then you can form it. If it's completely dry, it'll just fill right back in. And I don't like to make the hole too big. I want to kind of make it the size of what the plug is that I'm planting. Stick it in there. And as far as how deep to go, you don't want to bury half of that grass. I actually made some of my holes a little bit too deep. You kind of just want to go about 1/2 inch over top the dirt there, right in the center of your pot, or as close as you can. Yeah, I made these too deep. And then just stick it in there and then fill around it. Now that's it. And that's all I'll keep doing then for the rest of them. I don't know how many's in here exactly, probably a little over 100. Now, I know some of you guys are gonna ask, and we get the question sometimes when we're selling these, can you separate these? Like, could I take this plug, pull it in half, and plant half of each? And really, I can't say yes or no. I thought one time, I heard Dave, which knows a lot more than who knows a lot more than I do. And I thought he said no. I thought he said we'll kill it, but I can't say that for certain. I don't remember. I guess if you wanted to try it, you know, be my guest. But if it dies, don't come back to me and blame it on me. Because I'm not gonna lie to you and say yes, but I'm also not gonna say no, because I don't really know. So I actually didn't get near as many done as I thought I would with the soil that I had. So now I gotta go through a couple more bags in, and then I can start again. So now that they're all planted for the first batch, we'll have another batch coming yet. I gotta tag them so that the people know what they are. Just 1 tag in each one. We always like to try and put it, boy, I want that one there, on the edge, or as close to the edge as possible. If you didn't know, that's what they look like, fully grown. Done. And now for the last step of the process, which is to water it. The first watering is one of the most important, because you want to make sure you flush that dirt around that pot and get it kind of like filled in around the roots. That way there's not a hollow pocket. I mean, obviously every time you water it's important or it's gonna die, but you know what I mean. So I like to go around it a couple times. And you can see how like it's all bumpy from my fingers, and then it slowly evens out. And also that kind of ensures I'm doing a nice, even, thorough watering job and getting to the bottom of those roots. You don't want to top water stuff. You want to make sure it's watered all the way to the bottom. So I just finished up. It's going on like 4:30. It's like snowing / sleeting / raining. I'm gonna go do barn work and head home. So with that being said, as always, thank you guys for watching. And always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.